Top 3 mistakes. Yes, that's what I'm going to give you guys. But how do I know? Well, I've seen thousands and thousands of actors audition. In fact, we put actors on tape every single week here at the studio. That's Studio 24, one of the largest TV and film acting studios in the country. So, yeah, I've seen a thing or two when it comes to self-tapes, and actors are repeating these mistakes all the time. And if we want to have stronger tapes, we got to make sure we're not making one of these 3 mistakes, or possibly all of them. Stick around. All right, so the first mistake that I would like to talk about that actors are making in their self-tapes has to do with their reader. But what is a reader? It is the person that is reading the opposite side of that script, which could be one or multiple characters in that scene, because they'll be reading every other character that is not what they are reading for or auditioning for. And so when actors are doing their self-tapes, they should have somebody in the room with them. Part of the mistake is that they are not having an actor in the room with them. I literally just watched a self-tape come in, and the actor did their entire scene by just saying their lines and waiting. And then they said their line again and then waited. So there was no reader for this self-tape audition. That's crazy. That is so hard to do, first of all, as an actor, and then on the receiving side of that, to have to watch an audition where you're not getting the connection points of it. Even if you know what dialogue is supposed to be there, it just doesn't hit in the same way. You don't see a full performance, and it's much harder to visualize what this thing's going to look like and how that's going to read when they don't have a reader in the room with them. So if you're an actor and you're doing your self-tapes, please do yourself a favor. Get an actor in the room with you. Who doesn't love something for free? I've got something for you guys for free. You can get our scene breakdown checklist. This is what we use for all of our actors at the studio so that they can look at their scenes objectively, make some choices for story, and find a way to connect themselves personally to that material. So it's truthful, interesting, and dramatic, and amazing, and you can get that. There's also a video of me explaining this process step by step, how to apply it to your work, and that's over 30 minutes long. So if you guys want to spend a little bit more time with me, 30 plus minutes, go download that. Okay, let's get back to it. There's several things with the reader. Your best friend or your roommate is not a good reader. Your mother or brother or sister is not a good reader. Your friend is not a good reader. Some stranger walking, well, don't do that, stranger danger. But they are not a good reader either. If you want to have a strong tape, and you're not going to have a coach coaching you on that performance, then grab an actor from class. Grab an actor friend of yours that you've worked with. In fact, create a little network of actor friends where it's like, hey, I'll help you with your audition, you help me with mine, and everybody's going to be happy. Because what another actor can do, or somebody that understands that script, is they can really help elevate your performance. They understand the beats of a scene. They can kind of alley-oop you into your slam dunk performance because they know how this stuff works. And they're going to be easier to connect to in that scene and allow you to elevate your performance to the best possible. So get a good reader. In addition to having a reader in the room with you, make sure they're nice and close to the camera. What actors end up doing sometimes is their reader's like way off over here. And I'm like, why? So I'm watching this scene and they're like all profile-y like this, talking to this person over here, and they really need to be here. So your reader is right off the side of the camera. So when you're doing your scene, don't you feel more connected with that? I know you do. But they gotta be right there. And you're like, that's too close to the camera. It's not. Literally, it's probably 10 inches, 12 inches off to the side of the lens is where your reader should be. Really close, right next to it. Okay, in the room and close to camera for eyeline so that you, the viewer, or casting, or director, or producers who are viewing your tape can feel like they're in it. They get the most out of your eyes in the performance when your reader is close to that camera. Okay, now, I get it. You're like, well, I couldn't find a reader. I couldn't get that actor to come over and help me with my tape, and this thing was due at 6 p.m., and the earliest they could do it was tomorrow at 11, and so I had no choice. All right. Your next best option is to FaceTime somebody. Put them on an iPad so you're not looking at your phone and trying to connect with like 6-pixel wide person. Get an iPad or a computer, get it up into eyeline right in that same spot, and do your performance like that. That is the next best option. There are no options after that. I repeat, there are no options after that. Seriously. Remember, by the time you get the audition, you're this close to the role. You can't put in a subpar audition and expect to book. So if you want to waste all of your time and put this audition together and have no shot of actually getting the part, then continue down the list. But my recommendation would be get a reader in the room with you. If you absolutely cannot, absolutely 100% cannot, or you were on vacation and an audition came in, you're like, I don't want to miss out on that opportunity. Then get one of your actor friends on FaceTime and put them on the side of the camera in the eye line where you need to talk to them. That's it. All right, that's the first mistake. Mistake number 2 is not memorizing your lines. This is how important this is. This is your job. You have to do it. Memorization is a chore. I get it. I hated it. When I had to memorize lines for an audition, especially when I had like 12 pages and your audition's due the next day or whatever, it is a chore. It takes time. There's a discipline to it. It is not fun. But it is part of being a professional actor, in my opinion. Now, I know that casting directors are not putting in their notes that you have to memorize your lines for your auditions, and that's because they can't. The union actually says if casting asks you to memorize your line, and it's a union project, they're actually asking you to do work, and they would have to compensate you for that work. So if you ask a casting director, should I memorize my lines? They'd be like, I don't know what they tell you. But you know what they tell me? They say they prefer that an actor has their lines memorized. That's what they tell me. They can't say that, but they go, oh, but they don't have to, because legally they can't with the union rules that are set in there. But I am not a casting director. I am your acting coach, and I can tell you to memorize your lines for your auditions. Again, you're this close to getting the part, and you want that to be the strongest. Do you want to be juggling around with material like this and up and down into the scene, and having anything that's going to take you away from being up here the entire time and invested and connected to this thing? Casting wants to have the best, strongest tape possible, right? And they want to be able to send that tape on to producers and directors. Remember, for a co-star role, there will be no callback. There's no callback. You're not going to meet with anybody. You're not going to go into the room. You're not going to have a Zoom callback session with... No, your self-tape will turn into a booking. That booking will land you right onto set. Do you understand how strong that tape has to be in that case? Do you want anything competing against that performance, like having to come down and grab lines and seeing that in the frame? No, just memorize it, get it done, get out of the way, and commit. One of our actors that routinely comes in for self-tapes, he'll sit out in his car for an hour before he ever steps foot in here. And if I told you his name or I showed you a picture of him, you would recognize him from television shows and movies that you have watched. That is how far up in his career that he is. But he won't come in and put on one self-tape for a primary industry project until he is fully, completely memorized, off book, script out of hand, and engaged in the work that he is doing. So if you are guilty of that, shame on you, but shame on you no longer, because I would imagine your next audition you will be fully memorized. Good. Let's go on to mistake number 3. Not fully engaging and connecting to the work that they're doing. Now, this is one of the hard things with self-tapes that I don't think exists in the room for in-person auditions. But it's created this thing because actors now have the ability to do multiple takes. And that whole ability to do multiple takes and back to back, and let's go right into another one, has created this room for actors to start to go, oh, let's just go into another one. Let's just go into another one, versus fully resetting, connecting, and then going into the work. Instead, it's just, oh, let's go into another take. Let's go into another take. And then all of a sudden they're doing it and it's back to back, and they start to even lose the idea of being connected. And then they're watching their scenes back and they're like, oh, I like how I said that line, but oh, I didn't like that. And then I looked down here and then I didn't look up here. And then all of a sudden they're getting in their head. They're starting to then go, oh, I got to hit that thing and this thing and that. And then all of a sudden they're not really connecting anymore in that work, which is, again, the most important thing. We need to see a real lived human experience in that self-tape. We don't want to see a rehearsal. We don't see the work that you've done. Who cares about the good work that you did? Every single actor did good work. So if you're not connected genuinely in the moment that take, then you're wasting your time. And again, it's the ability to do take after take after take after take after take that's softening, I gotta do it this time. When you're in the room, it's do or die. You get one take to do your best work. So you're gonna get connected, you're gonna settle in because this is the one. Not, I got 1 foot and 1 out, let's see how that one looked. Okay, let's change that. Okay, we'll go into this again. And then all of a sudden you've completely lost what's at stake because nothing was at stake. You got to get invested like you've got one chance, one take to do your best work. Even if you go into another take, reset and get yourself there. Again, the true lived human experience of being connected to that is what they must see in that audition. If we're not hitting that, then again, the self-tape that you are submitting in is pointless. So those are the top 3 mistakes that I see actors make on their self-tapes. If you can correct those things and get those out of the way, you will have stronger tapes to submit in. And hopefully those stronger tapes are now leading to more callbacks or bookings. I want to see you guys on the big and little screen. I don't want to see you struggling. Why? Let's make it happen. Let's connect to the work. Let's memorize our scenes. And let's get a reader in there who can actually help you give your best performance. If you do that, we are one step closer to making it, to booking that job. I will see you guys on the next one.